Harry. What have you done? I've traveled so very far to find you. How strange that your trail ends here. Very island of my dreams. When you left, I was withering away. But here, on this extraordinary isle, I dare say I've found my strength again. I'm scared of what it means. I feel the call of something deep within. Whispers of things long forgotten. Will we be forgotten too? What did you find here, Harry?
This is, or was, the Ascent Group main metropolis. Like you, most people have contracted their entire lives away to get here. Workers or indents, slaves in all but name.
The Ascent Group arcology on Veles has shut down. If the latter is true, the corporate grab teams will already be moving in. This is a crisis supernova. The Ascent Group has collapsed. We have a shot at true independence. I won't let it go to waste.
We wish to test your abilities by giving you a special assignment. Find out what happened.
Work together on this one. Let's get it done!
Hi, hope you enjoyed the reveal of The Medium, our next-gen psychological horror game. We're very excited to announce that we're working on the project in cooperation with Akira Yamaoka, the legendary composer best known for the Silent Hill series. We'll have more to reveal soon, so stay tuned.
I'm Yuito Sumeragi. My power is psychokinesis. Ready? Go!
てめえもヤクザの端くれならいじめのつけ方ぐらいしてだろ。今ジョーがしょってかれるわけにはいかねえ。勤めに行ってもらえねえかイチ。喜んでやらせてもらいます。お前だけは裏切らねえな。お前の姿が明日を待ってる。あれ？あ。おやっさん。すまねえな、イチ。死んどけ。しかしお前は人を怒らせる天才だな。
こんにちは、セガの名越俊弘です。いよいよこの発表ができる日が、参りました。シリーズの最新作であるヤクザライクアドラゴンを、Xbox シリーズ X のローンチタイトルとして、そして Xbox One や、Windows 10で、発売する運びとなりました。全世界のファンはもちろんですね、初めてこのタイトルを手にする方にも楽しんでいただきたいなというふうに考えております。ゲームの限界に挑戦する龍が如くスタジオの新たなる挑戦をぜひ見届けていただきたいなというふうに考えております。ヤクザライクアドラゴンをぜひよろしくお願いします。
I hope you all enjoyed this brief peek at just some of the titles we have lined up for Xbox Series X. this is just the beginning. And personally, I can't wait to get immersed in these amazing games. But until then, I'm just going to have to live out that fantasy via custom backgrounds in Microsoft Teams. How about I try out a few now? Maybe we'll go into the world of Scarlet Nexus, or maybe I could tear up the streets in Dirt 5, or, well, here's a quick view of Phil Spencer's home office. Oh, wait a second. We've got this inside look at the next Assassin's Creed game. So with that, I'm going to leave you with the gameplay debut of the highly anticipated Assassin's Creed Valhalla for Xbox Series X. Huge thanks to all of our partners for their hard work during these difficult times, and to you at home for joining us. Stay tuned to go behind the scenes with a few of the creators of today's lineup and hear more about their thoughts on the next generation of game development. I'll see you later this summer for even more content premieres and announcements from Xbox Game Studios and our partners worldwide. Thanks so much.
Titles command the respect and fandom that the Assassin's Creed series has garnered, and today we get to talk about Assassin's Creed Valhalla with its creative director, Ashraf Ismail, who's joining us from Montreal, Canada. Bienvenue to Inside Xbox.
Hey, Jeff. Pleasure to be here.
I'm so glad that you're here because I'm a huge fan of the series. After seeing the video that we just saw, I have literally hundreds of questions to ask you. But before we get into Valhalla itself, did I just see new Assassin's Creed gameplay for the first time?
Yeah, absolutely. That was directly from the game in all its Viking Age glory.
Let's talk about the Viking Age, because Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Assassin's Creed Origins, these took place in antiquity. They were sun-drenched Mediterranean places, and this looks very different. It's different time, different place. So what do you have for us with the Viking Age?
Yeah, so the Viking Age, it's named after one of history's most notorious warrior cultures. And this time period is highlighted by the invasion of England by this very large, hungry Viking horde. And at the time, England was a dark age tangle of broken warring kingdoms. So this was an absolutely brutal, pivotal moment in history that gave us the birth of the England we know today. So players can expect to fully live the Viking fantasy in a meticulously crafted journey in an Assassin's Creed world.
All right, so let's get a little bit more into this. There was a lot to take in that clip that we saw. I saw Viking longships. I saw some very mean-looking axes. Previously, we saw a hidden blade. So let's talk about some of the key new features that you're bringing to the table with Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Yeah, so our hero, Eivor, is a Viking raider who's going to leave the snowy mountains of Norway for the lush rolling hills of England, propelled by the goal of settling their people and growing a thriving settlement. Now, England at this time is a hostile place. So to succeed, players will go raiding using their longships and raiding party. They'll assault giant fortifications in epic battles. They'll have to gain alliances with kings and legendary Vikings, and they'll be faced with some very harsh choices as the leader of a community. Along with that, where we've reinvented combat to be visceral, brutal, tons of enemy variety, dual-wielding weapons. We have a new, fresh take on player progression, gear, and weapon systems. We're effectively pushing every single envelope to deliver this incredible Viking fantasy.
All of this is just music to my ears. Thank you so much. So this whole show, we've been talking about the Xbox Series X. We're talking about next gen. So as a creative director, as someone creating a huge epic game, how do you take advantage of this new hardware?
Well, Assassin's Creed has always been committed to new technologies in order to push the most immersive experiences we possibly can. And so to have something like incredibly fast loading times means that we can remove some of that friction from the immersion and create a game that's much more immersive. Norway and Dark Ages England are breathtaking living worlds. So to be able to push them further to their incredible potential, this is really wonderful for us. It's wonderful for our players. And additionally, I'm very happy to confirm that we are also offering smart delivery, which allows you to purchase the game once and play it on your Xbox One and the Xbox Series X.
That is great news, I think, for all the Assassins fans out there. They'll be able to enjoy it on the hardware they have now, maybe on the hardware that they are looking forward to getting later this year. Thank you so much, Ashraf Ismail, for joining us and for sharing the very first details on Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I cannot wait to see more.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure.
We have seen so many great games today showcasing gameplay for Xbox Series X. So let's go to Malik right now with Robert Karp from Codemasters to talk Dirt 5.
All right, everyone, just a few minutes ago, you saw the reveal trailer of Dirt 5, and I kind of was left speechless, but I'm going to have to get it together here because we're going to dive even deeper into everything. Right now, we have Robert Karp, who is Dirt 5's development director, in the driver's seat to talk about what's next for the series. Robert, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you, Malik?
I'm doing great. Excited to dive into this. Now, Dirt 5, obviously the newest game in the series. Let's start with locations because kind of the backdrop is kind of important for a racing game. So where are we going to be going in Dirt 5?
So you saw from the trailer, we had New York, then we went to China, and then we went to Norway. We've got lots more environments than that. Each of the environments are bespokely created based on real worlds for the tracks and the event types that we play in there. So for New York, for example, you saw us racing over the East River when it was frozen in winter, but you can play in New York in the summer and spring and autumn. There you'll be able to race along Roosevelt Island on a couple of different tracks. That gives you a totally different experience. After that, we go to Brazil. We take in the favelas and Christ the Redeemer. We have tracks in Europe, in Italy, in Arizona. So there's really a really wide range of tracks with a really colourful and wide different colour palette that offer really interesting different experiences.
Super cool. I'm excited to see all the different locations as well as how the weather's going to change. I'm personally a New York boy, so I'm excited to race in New York. But it is a racing game after all, so let's talk about some of the cars that we're going to be able to jump into.
We have one of the widest ranges of vehicles that we've had in a dirt game ever before. So you've got the rally cars that you saw some buggies in China. We also have sprint cars, which are really cool and interesting. They go around ovals, they only turn left. Each of their wheels is like a different size, with the front one at the left the smallest, the back one at the right the biggest. They've got 900 horsepower, and you just basically drift all the way around the oval, kicking up big plumes of smoke, which is really fun.
Oh, that's super cool. Of course, everyone's going to be excited for more, right? More cars, more different types of vehicles. That's pretty cool. Now let's talk about the experience when the players jump into the game. What are some things that veteran Dirt franchise players are going to notice, and what are some things that they're going to notice for the first time ever?
So I think jumping into the career, they're going to notice the kind of agency or the choice of the different events. But some of the new things that are due to the franchise, and one of the ones I'm most excited about, is 4-player split screen. So in career or in arcade mode, where you can pick your event type and your vehicle type and your time of day, how quickly the time changes and what the weather's going to change, you can play that with your friends. So on launch day, when you get your Xbox Series X home, you boot it up, You invite a few friends over, you can all race together.
That's super exciting. 4-player split screen, something that we always want to see because it's always good to have your friends around and play some games on the couch. So that's pretty cool. Now let's shift gears a bit into the career mode. Obviously, the Dirt franchise is known for the career mode and taking you through a bunch of different races. Can you talk a bit about the story there? And I hear Little Birdie has told me that there's a very dynamic duo in the voiceover booth. Let's talk about that as well.
There is a dynamic duo. So one of the things that I really enjoy about the career is the real world sponsors. So as you race, you'll sign up to real world sponsors who'll give you rewards and pay you to race for them. And talking you through that will be your mentor. He'll help guide you, give you tips and hints, and that's voiced by Troy Baker.
Greetings from the booth, everybody.
And there's really only one person to have as the protagonist to Troy Baker, who's the nemesis, and that's Nolan North.
Thrilled to be working with Codemasters on this, playing a very pivotal character, per usual. Also, you're going to see some pretty recognizable faces in this game, so you don't want to miss it.
So as you race, you'll have to beat him if you want to win the career.
That's super exciting because one, I'm excited to jump into the career, but two, I feel like a lot of players are going to be happy about having both Troy Baker and Nolan North in the same video game. So that's going to be pretty exciting. Now, again, we're super happy that Dirt 5 is part of the reveal of the first gameplay for Xbox Series X. So let's talk about some of the things that we're going to see that are specific to Xbox Series X.
So Dirt 5, you'll be able to play at 4K at 60 FPS, but there'll also be an option for 120 Hz mode. So, gamers know frame rate counts. 120 Hz in racing, that's where the action's at. On top of that, Dirt 5 will leverage the smart delivery technology. So you buy the game on Xbox One, you can play it on Xbox Series X as soon as you get the new console. You buy it on Xbox Series X and you go over, you have an Xbox One in your house or in another room and you want to play in there, you can play Xbox One, so you'll always be playing the best version. And lastly is the fast loading. So that means that you get into the game almost instantaneously from turning on the console. No more waiting. You're in there, you're racing straight away.
I love everything that you just said there. You buy the game, you get the best version for the platform that you own. You get in the game, loading times are a thing that everyone hates, so minimizing that is fantastic. And then you get to choose between 4K 60 and 120 frames per second. So that is pretty cool. Again, Robert, thank you so much for stopping by. I got to say that I probably speak for everyone watching when I say that we're super excited to see Dirt 5 on Xbox Series X coming up this year. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we've already seen so many games so far, but the train's going to keep rolling, so we're going to throw it over to Katarina, who's with the Bluebird team, to talk about Medium.
Horror games are a fan favorite, and the Medium promises to keep us guessing and our hearts racing. Here to tell us more about the game is Jack, game producer from the Bluebird team. Thank you so much for joining us, Jack.
Hi, hello.
Can you tell us more about this game and the Bluebird team approach to the psychological horror genre?
In our first psychological horror that was Layers of Fear, the main topic was what can you sacrifice for your family? Can you sacrifice yourself, or you want to sacrifice yourself for your passion, to fulfill yourself? The second our game, it was Observer, and then the main topic, it was if I'm still human, if my mind maybe is digitalized, or if I have robotic parts, where is the line, like in the body horror stuff. And in the Blair Witch, of course there was a witch, there was the forest that everyone loves, but in the main topic, in the psychological horror stuff, it was PTSD. So for the medium, we have like two worlds in our game, real world and spirit world. We play as a medium that can see these both realities. So we can think like somebody can be a really good guy, but maybe inside it's not. And when you play as a medium, you have a really unique perspective to find out what is inside of other people or what happens in different places.
For the medium, we heard that you teamed up with legendary music composer Akira Yamaoka. Can you tell us more about that partnership and how that influenced the game?
Yeah, he's the best now, of course, for composing the music for Silent Hill series. And what was most important for us, it was his work on Silent Hill 2, because Silent Hill 2 for most of our team is the best horror game ever, and it's one of our main references when we think about atmosphere in the medium, because in one way his music is heavy, disturbing, oppressive, And in another way, it can be nostalgic, emotional, and melodic. And to bump it up more, we cooperate, Akira, with our composer, Arkadiusz Rejkowski, that create our other scores for our other games, and mix these two approaches together to fill up our two worlds and our different points of view. So it was really great fun.
This game is really characterized by those two worlds. Can you talk to us more about the story and these two worlds and how the players can look forward to that?
Yeah, so you play as a Marianne, and she's a medium, and like she can cope with this, that she goes, or that she can see the spirit world, the second world, but she's like haunted by really one specific vision that she tried to solve. And she has some kind of a hint that the answers can be in abandoned communist vacation resort. It's like an old hotel. So she go there, and then she need to, find out how the vision is connected with this place and what dark mystery is there. And there two worlds came up because our real world and our real world setting it's Poland, late 80s, Krakow. Krakow is a very important city for Poland history. It was a city of kings. And it's, of course, city of Blueberry. We have company here, we live here, we love the city. And it's a free Poland in that time. But because in the 80s and before, we lived under the regime, communist regime, and there was no free of speech. Everything was censored. And when you play as a medium, you have this unique opportunity to see even further the normal people because you see the spirit world. And spirit world is like dark mirror of our world. Like when all your anger, urges, secrets are reflected there. So it's also hostile world in some way. So only medium can solve some puzzles, some mysteries, and survive that kind of encounter.
Horror is really a genre that can really take advantage of some very immersive gameplay. What are some of the Xbox Series X features that the Bluebird team has harnessed to make sure that you can deliver this epic next-gen title with the medium?
Yeah, of course. First of all, it's the horsepower is the hardware. So having that powerful stuff as a foundation for our game, it's awesome because we spent a lot of years to thinking about this game, how we can fulfill our dreams about it, but we have a problem with the platform. Everything we thought it's too weak to fulfill our vision. But then Xbox Series X came up and we thought, yeah, this is perfect match for us. And now a lot of doors were open for us to be creative and do the game as we want it. And the second most important stuff is the seamless gameplay, steady FPS and no loading screens, because you have immersive horror cinematic experience, and you have two worlds. You can travel between them. You can travel between the levels and the whole story, and not having any loading screens and any FPS drops. It's awesome. And of course we use Xbox Series X in different ways. In many different ways, but I will leave this maybe more for the future, so stay tuned, guys.
Ooh, mysterious. I think I speak for all the fans when I say that I'm super excited to play the medium when it launches on the Xbox Series X. Thank you so much for joining us today, Jack.
Also, thank you very much.
Hey, I want to give a special thank you to all of our developers from around the world who pulled out all the stops to share this first look at Xbox Series X gameplay with all of you today. It's also great to see how many developers are taking advantage and leveraging things like smart delivery, really putting our fans first. And of course, we're doing that with all of our Xbox Game Studios titles. And as I said, we're not taking the summer off. Today is just the beginning. It's time to get hyped because in July, it's Xbox Game Studios. World premieres, reveals, lots of news. Mark your calendars. We'll see you then.
Presented by the Army National Guard, our hometown heroes who are on the front line, keeping our communities safe throughout COVID-19, natural disaster recovery, and more. To learn more, check out nationalguard.com/hometown.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to Unlock Live for Inside Xbox. I'm your host, Sydney Goodman. We're coming at you from home. No cats yet. They went to go get fed. But I mean, what a conference we got, or stream, but we got our first look at real Xbox Series X gameplay. And let's continue the hype by getting into discussion. But first, IGN Summer of Gaming is going to continue coverage just like this. We're going to have dev interviews, we're going to have demos, and we're going to have more next-gen console coverage. So make sure you tune in on IGN.com, anywhere you like to watch IGN, including IGN One on your Samsung TV Plus. But let's dive in. I've got the Unlocked crew with me: Ryan McCaffrey, Miranda Sanchez, and Brandon Tyrell. Hello, everyone, again.
Hello.
Oh,
again.
We're back. We're back. Okay, so I want to get into this, or go through this relatively quickly in terms of, give me your first impressions, like 1 or 2 words. How are you feeling? Let's start with Ryan.
Sure. My favorite thing about this, I was very surprised that it was almost entirely games that we'd never seen before. So I really like that aspect of it. The Vampire we'd seen before. I mean, Assassin's Creed we were prepared to see, and then Madden, comes out every year. But really, outside of that, it was entirely new games, and that's been a big thing with Xbox. It's just like, where are the new games? Where are the games? Period. So here's a bunch of new games. That made me really happy to see.
All right, so Miranda, we got glimpses of real gameplay. Did you feel like it delivered?
I feel like we haven't seen enough to really be super wowed by it. I think some of the particle effects, some of the lighting, some of it was really nice, but I think we just need more. A lot of these trailers were very short and very cinematic, and sometimes it was hard to tell what was really supposed to be that really exciting gameplay we're looking for. So I'm a little mixed on it, but I think it was a good start.
A good start is much better than a bad start. Obviously. Wow. Anyways, BT. So they mentioned,
Yes.
or you mentioned in the pre-show that you want to see racing games, you want to see Madden. Do you feel like what they showed kind of whet your appetite?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think it was a good first offering. With regard to the racing, Madden felt very much more like kind of a promotional video. As a diehard 49ers fan, tough to see Patrick Mahomes on there, obviously. But we're excited. It seems like the next iteration of Madden is really leaning into, the hype of next gen, which is, I think, something that is important for, annualized sports titles. I really love that they went back to, simple beginnings. They did that cool little history. Wish we would have seen more gameplay and maybe, seen some of it in action. With regard to the racing stuff, we did see Dirt 5, obviously. That has always been sort of a staple of the racing community. I am going to be looking forward to seeing, that game in action as well. A lot of the gameplay that we saw so far seemed like, it was simulated Xbox Series X specs. It was, running in engine, as you saw multiple times throughout the showcase. But until we see the game with the HUD and it's being controlled, it's hard to really make heads or tails of what it is we're looking at or how beautiful it actually could be.
Totally. And that's interesting that you mentioned the HUD and seeing I'm in it, this is what I will see when I'm playing a game, only because if you think about, they're having Xbox 2020s monthly up until holiday, which, November, December. And when are we going to see that and jump in? Will we see Dirt 5 game, in-game gameplay? And when is that going to happen? Because I know we have a long period of time, but we're creeping up to launch. Ryan, what do you think about that?
It's always tough. I'm like the barnacle on the side of the IGN games media business. This is my 3rd Xbox console launch, so I've seen a lot of these.
I like that.
But
barnacle.
really, what happens is that you got the in development hardware. It's always a weird moving target in a console launch year. So I'm not super surprised that we didn't see a lot of real gameplay with heads-up displays and proper gameplay elements. That's kind of common for console launches. Is it still like a little bit of a bummer? Yeah, I mean, you'd think this time maybe it could have been a little easier since everything's kind of PC and it's all nebulous anyway, as far as the console generation, the blurring of the lines goes. But yeah, I mean, these games are still a little on the early side. You got to cut the developers a little bit of slack, especially, they're all working from home now. Everything's a lot trickier. So I'm happy with what we got. Of course, you always want to see more. But yeah, that we got like 2 seconds of Patrick Mahomes on Series X. And it's like, well, okay, he looks pretty good, but that was, if you were hoping for more, that was a little bit of a tough pill to swallow.
Well, the good thing is at least EA showed us their little promotional video now. So hopefully they have nothing to hide behind when it comes to June 11th when they do their own EA Play Live. But Miranda, so we have a confirmed launch title. I believe it was the only one that they announced during this briefing. Yakuza, do you want to talk to us about that? And the fact that they only announced one launch title? Sorry to jump over you.
No. Yeah, I think they're still keeping a lot of their launch titles close to the chest. I think as far as surprises go, Microsoft was a little bit more strategic and like, okay, let's like kind of keep the bigger, newer things toward the end, and like wow with their first trailer, but then kind of build up to everything and ending with Assassin's Creed. I think that's kind of why we saw Yakuza's placement toward the end as well. It's really exciting to finally start getting that little launch lineup going. Like we just don't have a lot for launch yet. We just know we're gonna get Halo, and now we're gonna get Yakuza, and it's like a really great mix of games too. Like they're very, very, very different. So I was actually really excited to see that they do have at least something for launch. And while I think we are craving that launch lineup, I don't think this is the place that they were gonna give the whole thing. Obviously, it gets May. They have their big build up to their bigger games later, and this is just the start of that. And so I think giving us at least one thing that is coming at launch and a very exciting thing at launch was a really great start to that, to building up that list. And so I was really happy to see this. This is a thing I think we're going to talk about a lot later in the show too.
I appreciate your self-control. You're making my job a lot easier. But so BT, let's move on to Assassin's Creed. You were hyped during our pre-show. Yeah. How did you feel about what they showed and that interview that they had during the Inside Xbox stream?
Interview is great. I think anytime you can hear Ash talk about the craft and his team and how they're building it, there's always something to learn there. What I really love is you hear about Vikings and you think bloodthirsty, warrior tribe, but like we saw with Origins, there's a lot of like soulful character development, family, so there's more than just like the action of it. From what we saw, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little disappointed by what we saw, not in the content itself, but just how much of it. A lot of what we saw really did kind of look like, I don't know if it was cutscenes. I mean, clearly it was either running in engine or simulated in engine, but we saw a lot of cool things. There's a bunch of really awesome like religious overtones with the tree and I got my fog. I don't know if you saw it, but I got my fog. The lighting was really cool, Stonehenge, and that was really juxtaposed against the iconography of Christianity and the crosses. So it looks like there's going to be a lot of that coming into play. We did see a battering ram hit a door at one point. That looked like a cinematic. I'm not sure if that means siege gameplay. Sid, I guess what it all boils down to is I really wish we would have seen in like actual gameplay, right? Someone playing the game rather than a lot of really admittedly cool cutscene-esque looking things. There's a lot to dig into and a lot to like. I just want to see what this game is. I want to see it running.
For sure. Definitely looking for more. Totally get that. And actually, speaking of which, Ryan, I know that you kind of had some thoughts about overpromising, possibly under-delivering. Do you want to expand on that?
Yeah, we were talking about it during the stream. And yeah, I thought I have no doubt that Assassin's Creed Valhalla is going to look great, but for being billed as, the gameplay reveal, no, this was overhyped to hell and back. This was a super disappointing reveal for what they had suggested. I mean, but it would have been probably more fair to call it, a first glimpse at this game. So again, I'm sure it's going to look great. I'm sure they're just knee deep in development. There's hundreds of developers on any, if not thousands, on any Assassin's Creed game with the 10 support studios plus the main Ubisoft Montreal studio. So I totally get that, but for this being billed as the gameplay reveal of Assassin's Creed Valhalla was, I thought it was a pretty big letdown in that regard.
Yeah, it's funny that you bring up all the studios. So when prepping for this, short story, everyone, I Wikipedia'd Ubisoft because I wanted to see how many studios they have. And there are so many locations. It was like a full page long. So you can look up yourself after the stream. Do not leave because we are going to a super quick commercial break. I bet you can't guess what the ad's for. It might be Summer of Gaming. I don't know, but tune in because afterwards we will be talking about our first look at an IGN first title. And later on, we'll be going through our favorite games that were shown in this Inside Xbox stream.
Beginning in June, watch IGN's exclusive Summer of Gaming content for the latest and greatest in game reveals, news, trailers, next-gen coverage, and more. Tune in wherever you like to watch IGN or on IGN One on your Samsung TVs.
Surprise! And I was right, it was a Summer of Gaming trailer. Haha. Anyways, okay, we got our first look at The Ascent. Now, Ryan, I know that you wanted to talk about it as our IGN first title. Let's hear it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the chance to shamelessly self-promote here. So IGN First, if you're not familiar, that's kind of it's like our version of a magazine, an old school magazine cover story where we're spotlighting one game every month. In February, it was Doom Eternal. In March, it was Half-Life Alyx. In April, sadly, the pandemic caused our plans to fall through. But for May, I've been talking to the publisher Curve Digital for quite some time. And we're looking forward to showing you a lot more of The Ascent, which this one speaks to me. And I know, Brandon Tyrell, this is your kind of game too, because it's basically, I think the Twitter version of this would be, it looks like Judge Dredd meets Diablo. So it's a co-op action RPG, a little bit of a cyberpunky kind of sci-fi aesthetic, as you can see here in the trailer that's running. And yeah, it's I'm really eager to dig into this. So you're looking at the trailer now. Tomorrow on IGN.com, we will have the first extended gameplay of this game. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to sharing it with you guys and learning more about this one. So this, I can tell you too, this, I don't think it was mentioned on the stream, weirdly, because you would think Microsoft would have wanted to say this, pardon me if I just missed it, maybe in the end while I was taking notes, but this is an exclusive. This is Xbox and PC. So Series X, PC, Xbox One, Xbox One X, and we'll have plenty more of it throughout the month of May on IGN.
Well, there you have it. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Now, Miranda, we talked about Yakuza being the first launch title. I suddenly forgot what it was like when the Xbox One launched. How many launch titles should we expect? I know we saw a lot of coming 2021, holiday 2020. My thing is, if you're saying holiday 2020, like, why wouldn't you just say launch title? Can you kind of dive into that?
I feel like maybe the holiday 2020 right now is set because they can't necessarily say when launches, but I guess maybe some are like not keen on saying launch title. So that's the thing too, is like, we don't know. Some of these could be launch titles. But also I think it's smart for some of these to be peppered out throughout holiday 2020 rather than everything at launch, because if everything's just at launch, it's going to get buried by Halo. Let's be real. And like other games too, right? I'm sure Microsoft does have its own slate ready. And you can't just oversaturate that launch. And so having a better cadence of games coming out is always healthier, because then, let's be real, how many games can we play at once? So I think having that cadence is a lot smarter, so we do have things to plan for like early 2021. That's great.
I like your optimism. I also like your realism when it comes to realizing that I'm pretty much only going to be playing Halo once that comes out. But Brandon, so again, this might be Sydney ignorance question, but they were talking about all games being optimized for Series X. Now, is that synonymous with smart delivery? Can you explain the differences and the similarities, if there are any?
Sure. Yeah, no, they're two different things. So smart delivery means when you purchase it for one console, you'll get it on the other console, essentially. And what that is mitigating the cross-generational difference between the two consoles. We see it every generation, the 360 to the Xbox One. You get a lot of titles, especially from third parties and major publishers. They don't want to corner themselves off to one console or the other. So you're going to get a SKU